go get your coffee for GHC Coffee Break this morning. Joining me will be Megan, my co-host, and Ryan Jones. Get your coffee. We'll be right back.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals.
With opportunities outside of the classroom.
Where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits to a bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the university system of Georgia.
My college offers courses that fit my schedule.
It's where excellence begins.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome to GHC Coffee Break. I hope you are having a good day. I want to introduce my guest, Ryan Jones, former student at Georgia Highlands, also now a teacher at
Georgia Northwestern.
Yes, Georgia Northwestern. And of course, my co-host, Megan. Thank y'all for joining me today on GHC Coffee Break. It's getting ready for holidays, Ryan, and just to kind of give, if you would give our audience a little bit of background of who you are and what you do, and where you are now, and what you've been doing.
So I graduated from Georgia Highlands must have been 2014. Went from there to West Georgia. I got a bachelor's in psychology there, and then immediately started teaching at Georgia Northwestern.
Okay, and you're working on your master's now, right?
Yes, I just started my master's back this semester.
And what will it be in?
Psychology as well.
Where at?
West Georgia again.
Okay, so Brian and I have known each other at least 5 years, I guess, about when you were a student. And I've always admired the things that he's done. He's been in some of my classes. I'm proud that you've gone from Georgia Highlands to West Georgia, and you're working now on your master's. What do you want to do when you finish it?
Continue education, maybe take on more classes and actually being able to reach a broader number of students.
Okay. So still teaching?
Yes.
Okay. Going to work for a doctorate?
Eventually, not immediately though.
Yeah. And that brings us to this time of year and stress, because a lot of times when we're in school and we're working towards our degrees, and I remember it very well, the closer we get sometimes, the more stress it is. It's like, we've done all of this and we've handled it well, but now suddenly we're at the end of that part of our journey, and then we start stressing. Also, the holidays causes a lot of stress. December, well, you really got November with Thanksgiving, and then about 4 weeks later, usually, depends on how everything falls with the dates. Thanksgiving to me is a little bit early this year, but you've got a lot of stress in that 6 weeks time frame. And I know as a psychology major, one of the things that you have talked about and do deal with is stress. So kind of give us some things and let's talk a little bit about how we help alleviate. I know we can't totally get rid of, but alleviate the stress. I know, Megan, as a student, you deal with a lot of stress, not only school-wise, but here comes the holidays as well.
Yep, and working in retail, it's 55-hour weeks during finals, so it's just crazy to make that adjustment into.
Yeah, and that's a good point. People who are working in the retail and in the businesses where people are coming in, they're stressed. So that's a good kind of segue into what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of my students have come to me and asked, like, how do I deal with stress? I'm so stressed out, and just multiple different things. We talked about meditation recently. I'm taking a course on meditation right now where we look into various different styles of meditation. Our teacher has told us, a lot of what we're doing, they expect you to do over decades, and we're just going to do it in a semester, though. So it's a lot to work through and work up to. There's a lot of visual meditations. The easiest thing, though, that I've told all of my students to do is just breathe. Because we forget to do it so often. It's such an automatic response, and we can take control of that though, and our body gets into this fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
Where, and we always talk about that, but we never talk about what it means. And it means your body thinks, I'm being attacked by a lion right now, when in reality, you have a test coming up.
Right.
And we think, okay, well, it's just a final. Why am I so stressed out? We don't think about, okay, well, if I mess up this final, then I have to retake this class, or then I just can't get my degree. And if I can't get my degree, I can't do my job. And if I can't do my job, I have to work in retail for the rest of my life. And I don't want to work in retail for the rest of my life. And it just snowballs out of control when that, and it's our sympathetic division of our nervous system that gets activated in that fight or flight response, and it expends energy, and it keeps expending energy until we reach this stage of exhaustion where we're still trying to expend energy, but we never actually restored it. The complement to the sympathetic division is the parasympathetic division. If the sympathetic is fight or flight, the parasympathetic is rest and digest. It allows us to slow down. It allows us to calm down. And the easiest way we can activate that is to just sit up in our seat, inhale for about 4 seconds, all the way in and hold that for about 7 seconds, and then let go and just let it all out, and that should take about 8 seconds. And after we do that,
she didn't work on that. I saw your
I did
legs
it
were
more
still
quietly. Oh yeah, my legs were still crossed.
after we do that, about usually the first time, a lot of people will notice a difference. They'll notice as they're exhaling, a lot of the tension in their shoulders fall. A lot of people hold their tension across the top of their shoulders, up in their neck, and down their shoulder blades is where a lot of tension is held.
Yeah.
And the first time we do it, we can kind of feel that fall back down. And as we do it, usually 3 to 5 times is enough to pull you down from that stressful zone and just be able to actually breathe again.
Yeah, and you're very right. If you actually pay attention when you are stressed or when things are going on in your life, you don't breathe as much. Your respiration, and I also think it's more shallow, so you're not getting enough oxygenation in your blood. Say that 3 times. Oxygen in your blood system to carry out through your organs. And like you said, if your blood's not getting enough of oxygen, you're gonna suffer in your muscles, everything, because all of that is dependent upon each other. And so, yeah, and I think I carry a lot of stress in my shoulders, and I don't know if it's stress in my stress or just back problems, but in my lower back also is where my 2 areas seem to be the worst. What about you?
My shoulders, definitely.
Shoulders, and it doesn't help, I think, because we're already causing stress on our shoulders by texting, computer.
Texting, we stay hunched over so much,
Right.
and there's a lot of interesting stuff. The natural position of the body used to be supine, which when you lay down flat on your back, your palms go up naturally.
Right.
But a lot of people now, this feels so weird to have the palms up. It's more natural to have the hands down, and some interesting research is being done on that. And I think part of what they're saying is, technology has changed that. Because of the way we use technology, we use our arms much differently than we used to. As we were evolving over time and things, that has slowly changed the way we use our hands and things. So that's one thing that's changed. And obviously things like chiropractics help, things like going to get massages help. But
once a month, that is my gift to myself so I don't harm myself or others. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
but seriously, the emotion. I mean, it's not only a physical release, but it's an emotional. I don't want to necessarily say spiritual, but it just my whole body. Unfortunately, I need one every day probably, or every other day, but once a month has to do. But yeah, giving yourself permission to do something like that, it really does make a difference.
Yeah, and the unfortunate drawback, though, is massages running cost for a 60-minute massage is $60 minimum. and then it goes up from there. Chiropractics, if you don't have insurance, can cost $80 a visit. And
Right.
so you run into that problem of, what can I
That
do
causes another stress, financial.
then it's financial stress, and then that blows out of control too. So a lot of times that's why I start talking about, just what can I do that's free and takes 8 plus 7 plus 4, what is that? 12, 19 seconds is that one breath. Inhale, hold, and let go. That's 19 seconds that you can do. You can get 3 of those off in a minute, and then you're already on your way to de-stressing more. And it's something you can do anytime. You don't have to make drastic sounds. I know when I inhale really loud and really fast, and so I hear it, but it doesn't have to be something that's drastic that everybody notices. It can be, you're sitting there about to take a test, and so you're just, you feel your chest kind of lift up with the air, and then when you let go, it just kind of goes out, and you don't hear it as loudly. So that's where I like to start and say, if you're fortunate enough that you can afford things like massage and chiropractics, then I say go do it. It is a good way. It helps your muscles release and relax, and that helps us emotionally relax as well, because when we get in that fight or flight mode, our body tenses and it locks up, and we create this feedback loop where our body says, oh, I'm stressed, I need to tense.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, I'm tense, I must be stressed. And then it's, oh, I'm stressed, so I have to be tense.
Yeah, and it just,
until we hunch over. And so it's breaking that feedback loop, and it's trying to redirect our emotions and our mind through our body posture and say, okay, my body's relaxed, so I don't need to be stressed. And that's when that emotional release can start to come out. And things like yoga can also help, and you can find videos of exercises and things online
YouTube,
that you can do as well that help a lot.
Absolutely. Technology does have its benefits. There's a lot of negatives, but it does have its benefits. And YouTube does. I mean, you can almost YouTube anything and it'll tell you how to do it. I was amazed at how. I mean, I can't think of anything I've ever tried to look for on YouTube that I didn't find.
Yep.
So,
Or you can download apps now for meditation and all kinds of stuff. Everything.
Yeah, I've got actually a couple. There's an app that's really good. It's got several different. I can't remember the name of it, but it has several different things that you can do to help stress release. The app is free. There's also one called, I think it's called the Hope Box, which is really neat because it helps you think of the positive things in your life that you kind of put in your box and remember, hey, I've got these things. And you can also do a physical one. I have a box at home that sometimes, I haven't practiced this lately, but it just hit me when we were talking, that I can put a note in, and a positive note, put it in that box, and then when I'm feeling bad, I can pick that positive note out of the box. And then I've also done an exercise where I've taken things that stressed me out, written them down, wadded them up, and burned them.
Yeah.
And as I burn them, try to let them go. These are my stresses. I'm burning them and letting them go. Now, like I said, I don't always practice what I preach, but that's another thing that is free.
Yeah, that visualization is so helpful with a lot of things. There's lots of interesting work around visualization and how it can help various aspects of our life.
Right, and I'm a big journaler. Megan and I both talk, and I'm bad. I'll journal in one book for a while, and then I'll see a pretty one, and I'll get another one. I'm journaling. Yeah, I've got so many journals. Megan gave me one recently, and I said I'm going to hold this one because it looks like it'll be perfect for my trip. So it's gonna be my trip journal. But yeah, that's free. Well, it's not free. Journals cost, but you can get cheap journals. You can buy even paper. But we only have about 30 seconds left in this segment, so I just want to remind people to think about some things that stress you out. Start practicing. We'll be right back. Ryan and Megan and I'll talk about how to alleviate stress during the holidays. Get your coffee. We'll be right back.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. Ryan, I really appreciate you being here. Megan, as always, it's great for you to have you as a co-host. I know you don't talk as much sometimes. I kind of put her on the spot, but this is all a learning process, and it's been really good. I keep saying this is my living room, and it's much more neat than my own living room at home. But Ryan, and that's another stress. I mean, when we think about the holidays, regardless of what your belief is, you know, if you have Christmas trees, Kwanzaa, whatever, you know, it's still going to be stress. Because even if you're not even involved in any of those rituals, if you go shopping, like you said, you're involved. So, you know, stress. Also, holidays can tend to be when people die for some reason. There is not a causation, but a correlation of deaths during the holidays. And I don't know if it's just because we remember it more because it was around the holiday, but, you know, holidays are tough on people who have had deaths in their family or close to them, that especially if it's the first time, it's the first holiday that person is not there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, not only is that stress for running around and having to do stuff, but if you had someone that, and I know for me sometimes the holidays can be really rough because, well, you know, my daughter and my son died. And so not having them, especially Stephen died at birth, but Felicia, you know, not having her at the holidays, and she died around the holidays. She died in November 15th. So, you know, all that's coming up. Yeah, it's been 18 years, but I mean, I've had her now, I'll have lost her now as long as I had her. But I know that the holidays definitely still have an impact on how I feel because she's not there. So that's another aspect of the stress of the holidays.
And one thing we don't want to talk about it because it's going to bring down the mood and it's going to make everyone else sad. But then it eats at you more.
Yes.
And everyone can still feel that off of you. They can still tell something's not quite right. For me, one of the worst things I can do in that situation is to not talk about it and to hide it and try to pretend it's not there.
Thank you. It's like the elephant in the room. It's like it's there, but let's not talk about it because it'll make her sad. Or I may not talk about it because I don't want to make other people sad around me, but yet I'm holding all this grief inside. And anniversaries and holidays, since the holidays are coming up, I want to specifically, you know, kind of focus on that. But that kind of stress and that kind of grief is very difficult because the person that's experiencing it doesn't want to, like you said, bring everybody else down. So it internalizes so hard, and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and that's where things like journaling come in hand. And it's also important to have someone you can talk to and someone you know is a safe person to talk to about things. And you know, you should never feel like you have to disclose that information to anybody. But when going back to stress, when we feel like we can't talk about it, that's when we start to tense up, and it's when these things they're in the forefront of our mind, but they also go to the back of our mind as well. And they're just always back there.
Yeah.
They're always there, right? They're waiting for something to remember it. And then you feel bad. And I'm not supposed to feel sad. It's the holidays. I'm not supposed to feel this way.
Oh, I love I'm not supposed to. Yeah.
But we are supposed to feel sad about things. Otherwise, we would never feel sad about anything.
Right.
So it's a natural response that we have to things. And when we don't acknowledge that, Carl Jung talked about our shadow and our shadow bag, and we have, you can imagine when we're born, we have this nice little bag, and it's about this big, and it's just stays that small until we start like saying, oh, I'm not supposed to do this, and so we take it and we put it in our bag. Then we take it and we put it in our bag until eventually our bag is 100 yards long that we're dragging around with us everywhere.
Yeah, that
and
baggage.
It's always there. It doesn't just stop because we put it in the bag. It's like, okay, I'm just going to put it in the bag. Well, it's still in your little bag. It's still there. It's still something you've got to deal with. And so it makes it almost harder to deal with when we put it in the bag, though.
Yeah.
Because then we've got to sift through everything else that's in there, and we've got to actually get back to it and pull it back out and deal with it again. So a lot of times what I try to do is say, you know, this is bothering me right now. I try not to let things fester. I try to deal with things as they come up, instead of just letting it sit there and become a bigger problem in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And I think that happens a lot, that regardless if it's something, the stress of school, the stress of the holidays, the stress of grief, and sometimes I'll just cry for no reason. And if anybody's around me, I'll say, look, it's okay. I'll acknowledge it. It's okay, I do this sometimes. But if I want to talk about it, I'll say, you know, I'm really struggling right now, and this is what I need to do. And you're right, having that safe friend, the one that, yeah, they'll have empathy and feel bad that you're in that situation, but yet at the same time they can provide you with that positive, it's okay that you're feeling this way. You know, there's not that, well, you know, you need to be strong for I hate that. Oh my God, you're supposed to be strong for everybody else. And I mean, at some point, you know, it's like the world gets too big, and you crash. And that's when, you know, we get into the deeper, beyond just common stress, the depression, the acute at first, but then it turns into a chronic depression because we haven't dealt with the acute depression. And so I think it's really important. And people don't like to talk about it, especially like death, you know, and that's one of I think you were in my death and dying class, weren't you? Yeah, okay. I was thinking so. And Megan, you've already taken it. But everybody grieves differently, and if we don't talk about it, for that person that's grieving, it's like, if you don't, I have 3 kids. 2 of them have died. You don't want to just tell everybody that. Like you said, it's okay not to disclose, but sometimes it's like, but I want to acknowledge I had 3 kids. Yeah. But then if I do, there's a story behind it. Do I just leave it? I have 3 kids. Oh, what are they doing? Well, 2 of them are died. And then you're like, they go, oh, I'm so sorry. They don't know what to say. So I think talking about and having these kind of conversations hopefully will help people that are out there that know somebody that's grieving.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of this really comes in, is especially when we talk about miscarriages or stillbirths. One of my close friends, she lost a baby, and we don't really talk about this child. It was before we could really know the gender. I think we both largely recognize it as a boy, and it was right around the holidays. And so I remember waking up on, I believe it was Christmas Day, to a text message that, you know, she had lost her son. And that's such a hard thing to deal with. And then she's got tattoos in honor of her children. And then it's like, but what do I do about this one? Yeah. Because then there's a whole story, and she found a way to make it work with symbolism for herself. So it's a nice, pretty tattoo, and she can talk about it if she wants to. Otherwise, it's just a nice tattoo. And so, but it's often like we can't talk about that. And I remember reading about that in your book. It's, you know, we feel like, you know, I can't talk about this with people, but then it's something so many women go through when we talk about miscarriage and stillbirth. But it's largely unrecognized.
Yes.
And then women don't know who to go to. And I'm unfortunately not versed enough to be able to say like, oh, there's these resources for you.
Right.
But there are resources out there. There are people out there that have gone through that situation, and but it's how do you bring it up? Back to what you were saying, it's like, oh, I've got to be strong for everybody, and he said you have to carry the weight of the world. And where do we carry the world? We carry the world on our shoulders, and that's where we keep all our stress. And it's just the way we talk about this stuff is really interesting too. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, and that's where we keep a lot of our stresses up in this area. And so that's where these holidays can really just build and get out of control with stress.
Yeah. And do you feel like that, Megan?
Yeah, I'm queen of pushing my problems behind mine and everyone else's, so they definitely pile up, especially when you're working and have to deal with random customers' problems on top of your problems. So it's hard to deal with all of it piling up when you're already dealing with school and stuff like that.
Right, and I think these things, what do you think about the breathing a while ago?
It helps, yeah. He showed me that the other day in class, and I actually did that all the way to class after I left.
Yeah.
But it helps, it does.
It really does. And
it slows you down to focus on it.
And I think Andrew Weil, have you heard of him? He's a medical doctor, but he's very holistic, and he natural medicines. He doesn't just like, I want to give you pill. Look him up, Andrew Weil. He's very, very well known, but he has a whole thing on breathing because he said we don't breathe right because we're so rushed. We're breathing either too fast or not breathing at all, like you said, and that causes. To live, we need air. We need oxygen. Without it, we kind of die. So if we're not breathing, we're not getting that oxygen that we need. We are causing a slow death, kind of. We're causing death in our body. So
yeah,
I hate that we're almost out of time, but I think this is a really interesting topic, and I hope during the holidays that people get a chance to say, hey, I need to breathe, and that it's okay if I take time to breathe. Get your coffee. We'll be right back with GHC Coffee Break.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals,
with opportunities outside the classroom,
where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits toward my bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the University System of Georgia.
My college is affordable.
it's close to home.
My college has online opportunities.
It's where excellence begins.
We are
GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. I hope that talking about the stress and grief, the holidays, how important it is to take care of yourself. Ryan, Megan, if we can think of just shooting out some ideas again of what we can do to alleviate stress. Of course, the breathing. Is there any other thing really quick that you can think of?
Going hiking.
Hiking, absolutely. Doing something that will get energy somewhere else.
Yeah, exercising too. Just anything that'll keep you moving.
Being in nature, cardio exercise, just getting one of the most common treatments for seasonal affective depressive disorder is just getting 10 minutes of sunlight a day. Just a little bit of sun also goes a long way, and it's not going to cure everything, but there are things that help like that. So the cardio and the sunlight are really important.
Cardio, sunlight, breathing, and hiking, nature, things like that, really important. Hopefully this has helped you. We'll see you next time on GHC Coffee Break. Have a good day.